Hi everybody, Mark here with My Engineering, and for today's video we're going to be doing a quick piping analysis using a blue light laser, one of our Scanology scanners, and we're going to be using Geomagic Control X to do the actual analysis on the piece. So the piece that we're going to be scanning today is this 8-inch yellow jacket piping. You can see there's already been buffed, but there's one large pit right here in the middle. So we're going to scan that and we're going to get some dimensions and maximum depth. We can get the area, we get the volume, we get all sorts of dimensions for that. We're going to keep it rather simple today. For the scanning portion, we're going to be using our brand new Scanology KSCAN X. So this scanner is going to be scanning it at up to about 1/1000th of an inch accuracy. In order to maintain that accuracy, we are going to be using a scale bar. I'm going to show you how quick and easy that is to incorporate in the scan. And then we're going to be saving that file. We're going to bring it into our Geomagic Control X to do the actual analysis. So step one, we are looking at our Define Site software here. We need to scan in our little marking targets. So you'll see it's going to actually register the scale bar. And you'll see it turn nice and green there. And we just want to record a bunch of our other targets. And that little number 80 green box you see on the right-hand side is actually a background plane target that will automatically delete the background of our, which in this case would be the floor. I'll switch over to scanning mode. And we are ready to start scanning. So you see an absolute pile of lasers across our target here. Going to paint our piece of pipe very nicely, make sure it all fills in. Looks good. Hold our mode button to finish the scan. We'll see what it looks like. All right, our scan is now complete. You can see we get a nice, smooth finish on the inside of our pipe, but you have the one main pit. There's a couple of other tiny little pits here around it, but this is the one that we're going to measure. So we can save this and we can send it over to Control X. So I have brought the scan data that we just created into Geomagic Control X, and we are going to start our analysis. So right here you can see this nice little pit. That is what we're going to be measuring. So the very first step that we need to do is we need to attach a coordinate to our scan data. So that goes right there. We'll hit OK. And that lets us now, we can go into our Compare tab and find our deviation location tool. So that's the one that we are going to be using to try to measure the dimensions and depth of this pit. So for the entities, we are going to use that coordinate we just created. And measurement area, I'm going to manually select an area. So I'm going to use our square selection tool here and just pick an area there that includes our deviation and some of the nice area around it. And what that's going to let it do is it will fit a surface to the selection area and use that in order to use that surface to measure against in order to pull dimensions for our pit. So I'm going to use, for the purpose of this demonstration, all of the default settings. See, it makes a nice little map here. We move over to our next stage. Again, I'm going to use the defaults on this. So there's some other criteria that you can input in order to narrow down your selection, but I'm just going to use the defaults. Hit search. In this case, it's going to give us a few different objects. I'm going to actually delete all the ones that we don't care about because we just want to measure one pit, and that's this big one in the middle. This last stage, you can create the different measurements that you want. So whether you want to include things like the major and minor diameter, the length, the width, the depth, the area, the volume, all that you can kind of specify in this menu. But again, for the purpose only for this demonstration, we're going to keep it real simple. So we have a maximum depth of 1.40 millimeters, area 172 millimeters, if that's the kind of criteria you want. You can have volume. So outside of just the very basic measurements that you can pull from your data here, like the deviation, the area, the volume, we can go a little bit further. And this is something that's been requested from some of our customers. And that would be, if you can kind of picture a riverbed analysis, what they're doing in the field currently is they have a depth gauge and they manually plot out the most severe depth of the pitting. And this one's kind of round, so it may not be the best example, but you'd have sort of a riverbed profile. So you want to see how likely this pipe is to fail, depending on the material that's left. So if you want to manually plot out a bunch of measurement areas across a pit, we can do that here too. So first thing we need to do is we need to create a CAD surface for it to measure against. And since a cylinder won't fit quite accurately to this piece of pipe, because I think it sprung a little bit when they cut it open, we need to make a free form. Luckily for us, we already created one in our deviation location tool. So I'm going to right click on our deviation location that we already created and create fitting surface. And that makes this nice little gray CAD surface for us to play with. So now we can go up into our comparison point tool here. And what it's going to do is it will measure each point. It'll measure the difference between the CAD surface that we just created and the underlying mesh. So with our pick points option here, we're just going to literally plot out. So we're going to measure here, 3, 4, 5 points. That was our riverbed that we plotted out. I'm going to hit OK. You're going to see on the bottom of the screen all the values for those locations that we picked. This is something that we can now take into our report and use those values in our riverbed analysis. So we can do a proper failure analysis or fitness for service based on the same type of data that we would have taken manually with a manual depth gauge or pit gauge. So I'm going to leave it there. I tried to keep it very general and show you that there is a lot of tools available in Geomagic Control X without demonstrating every single tool. Everyone kind of has a different approach to how they do their own reporting and the types of analysis and the types of data that they actually need to extract from the pipe. The one I did get a little bit into the weeds on is the riverbed analysis, so actually manually plotting the points. The reason I kind of focused on that one is that would be replacing exactly how people would be typically measuring it out with manual measurements with a depth gauge or a pit gauge. So you can get the data very quickly and efficiently in the field, very accurately if you're using one of our KSCAN X scanners. Take that back into the office and do all your analysis there. Now, if there's other workflows that you guys would like to see or something a little bit more specific for how you are currently doing your analysis right now, let us know. We'd love to work with you, figure out a workflow that would make your process very efficient and very effective. So you can reach out to us either support@myeng.ca. You can also leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.